I've enjoyed playing WarTales. It's a very different game than what I thought it was. Honestly, going into it, I thought it was a tactical RPG. I mean, everything about it looked like an RPG. You have your standard non-fantasy classes, admittedly a bit antiquated, but still the same thing. Like, you have farmers who are essentially spearmen at the end of the day, hunters who become archers, so on and so forth. But just below the surface of this game, you'll find out it is not an RPG. It is a tactical RPG combat style game, but it's not a traditional RPG. Although while digging through this game to find out exactly what it is, you might also find some other things that are not so good. And it might be a reason why I tell you, you might want to wait before you purchase this game. I'm Nima. Let's talk about WarTales. But before we do, I have to warn you, your phone, your computer might be in danger, and it desperately needs your help. And all you have to do to save your beloved device is to look at the bottom of this video, and there's two buttons, a subscribe button and a like button. Hit them both and you will have successfully completed your quest and saved your device, or something like that. Anyway, WarTales is a very interesting game. It shadow dropped last Thursday during the Nintendo Direct, and as I stated before, this is one of those things that I kind of do as it's become a ritual of sorts, where when there is a shadow drop, I will pick one game and I will grab it and then just play through it as fast as I can. And for me, WarTales looked like it was the most interesting game, and I think it definitely is. This game takes place in a very bleak world where the plague has just hit really hard, and they're still recovering from all of it. At the same time, there's a country just to the south of you that is on the losing end of a war. But aside from these two major events, nothing else is really the same about each playthrough. And that is because there is no overarching story. Now, depending on what part of the map you're on or how far you are into the game, there are a few storylines that are very consistent and really just give you information about the region you're in and whatever conflict or issue that they're dealing with. For instance, when you first start the game, you're more dealing with refugees. And what I like about this whole storyline is the fact that it's not simple. It is very complex. You know, in a lot of games, there would probably be either A, the refugees are evil people and they're coming in and they're just stealing stuff and they're murdering and blah, blah, blah. Or scenario B, where they're just desperate people looking for help who are innocent and never done anything wrong. And these refugees are met with evil, racist people who are just hate-filled and greedy. But either scenario is really immature and is not true at all. Like, there is no reality in either one of those scenarios, but you do see that in a lot of games where there's an obvious good and bad choice. And that's what I like about this game. It's not like that. The storylines are complex and multi-layered. There are times when you're trying to actually stop these refugees because some have become bandits and decided to rob travelers. There's also times when you want to aid them because all they're doing is looking for resources, and maybe they want to just chop down some trees, but locals have a problem with them taking their resources. Yet the locals themselves have not been using those resources. You see, everything is just deeper than face value with this game, and that's what I really enjoy about it. It's like when this team got together to create these side quests or these storylines, they really put a lot of effort into actually immersing you into the situation and making you contemplate which side you want to be on and what you want to do. And honestly, side quests themselves are just as deep. Maybe not as long, but there's about as much complexity to a lot of them. None of the quests really feel phoned in. They all seem like they were thoughtfully put together. Although, if I'm being honest, as somebody who plays more traditional games, it does feel kind of weird not having like a true ending, so to speak, or having like a big bad guy or something like that that is just, like I said, far more traditional. Now, really, your main goal in this game is to create this big mercenary group. You want to manage them and hone them and make them successful, and then learn how to manage them and manage the resources that it takes to keep them going. Although none of this is presented to you when you start the game. You just kind of figure that out as the game goes on. So I do think that that is also really interesting. The game is very fluid, is what I'm ultimately saying. And that sort of freedom feels nice, but also feels foreign as somebody who, like I said, just a little bit more used to traditional games. Now, all of that actually sounds really cool, right? Yeah, well, even the combat, I have to say, is incredibly enjoyable. It's not as deep as it could be, but it's pretty deep. Like, it's pretty strategic. You have a lot of options for buffs, debuffs, as well as different classes and managing when to use certain skills. All of these become very important to you during combat. But I will say there is one major negative thing about the combat, and it's not the actual combat, it's the loading screen. Going from walking around the world map to entering combat, the loading screen takes forever. And if you do have the patience to sit there and just wait, you could be treated to an error screen as the game just up and quits. It just gives up. It happens far more than it should happen. And there's definitely times when you're out on the road map and you're taking a rest because it's very important. Your people do need food and they need rest. In many ways, this game is a survival type game. Although while you're at your campsite and resting, there is a chance that you'll be attacked. And when these random events happen, about half of the time, the game just crashes. And this isn't the only performance problem that this game has, as where this is a big one and it happens quite often, the game also lags and stutters constantly, it feels like. There's times when it's just not as noticeable and doesn't really matter, like when you're walking in the open world. It's kind of fine, you sort of expect it, but you start to notice that every single time that something changes, there's a little bit of a stutter, there's a little bit of a lag. This game was not optimized and definitely needs a patch. And as annoying or jarring as that might be, it's nowhere near the problem of just the random crashes, and it happens all the time. Now, the nice thing I guess I could say is there's almost like an autosave feature where, especially during the battles, if it crashes, you're pretty much put back in the same spot you were. But this can be an issue when it crashes before it autosaves, and I have had that happen because traversing the world and going from one side of the screen to the other can take literally days in the game and requires just a lot of time, a ton of time. Before you beat this game, we could have flying cars, the robots could take over, Jesus could come back. A lot of things could happen while you're trying to beat this game. But part of the big time sink is just traversing. And so when you're going from one place to another and then you get into a battle and all of a sudden, oh, the game crashes, you gotta then go all the way back again. And at the time, maybe that's only 10, 20 minutes, but those add up. As a simple playthrough for maybe a couple hours will have at least probably 2 to 3 crashes. And you add that up over time, that's at least 30 minutes that you spent simply backtracking. And just to touch on visuals briefly, I would say the game does hold up. It looks pretty good. Now, could it be better? Of course it could. But I would say that it holds around maybe like 360 era graphics, maybe a little bit better. For as much as they really need to show, they've done a pretty good job. It's not distracting, but again, not like overly impressive, as far as graphics and visuals go for a game, but it's pretty decent. And honestly, there's a lot to like here. I love this idea of a game that is portrayed as a strategy RPG, but it's actually more of like a survival sim manager type game. And when you look at it, the devs themselves said that they wanted to make a Skyrim style game without a storyline. And, thinking about that, I'm glad that they didn't do first person like Skyrim because, well, basically Skyrim without a storyline would essentially be like Minecraft. And as I just said, yes, there's so much to like about the game, but I wouldn't get it yet. I would wait until they patch it, fix it. We don't have these issues. You want to make sure that it stays around for quite a while before you end up investing $40 into it. Because ultimately, this game is one of those games that could be epic, could be awesome, or it could have just been pushed out and forgot about, and a year down the road, we still don't have a patch, and it's still essentially kind of a broken game. Yeah, you can get through it. I'm sure you can, but it's just really going to be frustrating time and time again. So ultimately, I have to grade the game on the scale of it being broken. So for now, my final score is a 5.5 out of 10. And that's pretty high considering I talk about the game breaking, but just everything else included, there is a ton to this game. I think that it's one of those games that should be able to perform just fine. And honestly, I'll even take a little bit of the lag and the stuttering here or there. Fine, whatever. But the crashes, that has to be fixed. That cannot continue to plague this game. And this is definitely a game that I'm going to revisit in a month or two and see if they fixed it, see what the patches have done. I'm hoping that there will be some patches, but yeah, right now I have to give it a 5.5 out of 10. Once this game gets fixed, I feel like it could easily get to the 7.5 to maybe even 8 out of 10 because it is such a really cool idea. And gameplay is incredibly immersive, and the stories, the quests, everything is just really awesome, but they just failed on the performance part. So hopefully they get that fixed. And the next time we're talking about this game, we're talking about how awesome the patch was and how great the game is in general. But anyway, that's my thoughts on WarTales. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Was this a game you're excited for? Have you not heard of it? It is on Steam, by the way. I haven't played it there. I don't know if there's any issues with the Steam version of it. I highly doubt it because the game is highly rated over there. Anyway, anything and everything down in the comment section below. Much appreciated. I love each and every one of y'all. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.